Stories from Upanishads.
Retold by Arghya Goswami.
Friends, before we begin today's episode, I would really want to thank you all for listening to my podcast series Stories from Upanishads. I get emails from you all and often discuss various topics. These discussions need not be answers, but can be more and more intriguing questions. I'm really happy that many of you have said that my podcast has brought in some positive change. These comments really motivates me to go on. So I would really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Also, would request you if you can follow, like, share via WhatsApp, download, write some reviews and comments. Even there is a poll conducted till 30th of April on Spotify. If you are listening to this podcast on Spotify, please give my honest opinions as these comments and reviews will help me to improve and work on my mistakes. I would really request you all to support me on this. Today's story is a dialogue between devarishi Narada and Sanatkumar. It is taken from chapter 7th of Chandogya Upanishad. As per the book Insights into Chandogya Upanishad by Dr. K.S. Narayanacharya, this Upanishad is perhaps the most difficult to understand or interpret. This Upanishad is rich in teachings of yogic practices, steps on the path of journey to God, and wealth of vidyas and knowledges. This Upanishad was derived from Samaveda. We all know about Devarshi Narada not only from spiritual texts but also from plethora of pop culture references through films, soaps, and comic books. Somehow, I don't know why Devarshi always been painted in an incorrect picture. More often than not, these pop culture media has depicted Narada to be funny and goofy. However, this is not true. Narada is one of the most learned sage, musician, and a great storyteller who carries news and enlightening wisdom. The Narada Bhakti Sutra is attributed to him. Usually, he would make his presence by chanting Narayana Narayana. He is also featured in Narada Purana and Narada Smriti. It is believed that he composed Bhakti Sutras and narrated Ramayana to sage Valmiki. Narada also has been referenced in Jatak tales of Buddhism and Jainism. Greek culture has a character quite similar to him and is called Hermes. Roman mythology has Mercury and Germanic mythology has Odin. Sanatkumara is Manasputra or mind-born son of Lord Brahma. He is visualized to be an advanced being at the cosmic level of initiation who is regarded as a regent of earth and humanity. In Hinduism, he is visualized as a rishi. The meaning of word Sanat Kumara means eternal youth. He was the first Udasin Acharya and a wanderer, and his guru was Lord Narayana himself. He is one of the four Kumaras who roam the universe. His three other brothers are Sanaka, Sanandana, and Sanatana. Bhagavad Purana lists these four Kumaras along with 12 Mahajanas or great devotees of Lord Vishnu. The Mahajanas mentioned in Purana are Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Narada, four Kumaras, Kapila Muni, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlada, King Janaka, Bhishma, King Bali, Rishi Sukha, and Yama. Sanat Kumara is also author of Sanat Kumara Samhita, which is part of Shiva Puran. It's also believed that he taught Bhishma the mental and spiritual sciences. He and Narada started the parampara of four ashramas, and I have talked about it one of my previous podcast episode, Yaggavalka and Gargi. Please listen to it to know more on these four ashramas. Devarshi Narada himself is supreme in knowledge. He is a Devarshi, but with all the knowledge, he was still a seeker. He wanted to know how to overcome sorrow, which is a large part of our life. Thus, he went to his brother Sanat Kumara to know the answer. Beauty here is that in Indian tradition, we can have anyone as our guru or teacher. We have seen that in the story of Satyakama, where he had made non human gurus, and in the story of King Janasruti, he made a wise cart puller named Raikwa as his guru. In case you have not listened to these podcasts episodes, please do listen to them. When one wishes to obtain knowledge of Brahman from a guru, whatever the personal relationship is, he must approach him as a disciple. So, to get his questions answered, Devarshi Narada approached sage Sanatkumara as his disciple. He asked Sanatkumara, Adihi Bhagava, O revered sir, please teach me. Sanatkumara, who was in meditation, slowly opened his eyes and smiled and said, First tell me what do you know with regard to the Atman, then only I can tell you the rest. Narada, with joined hands, said, Sir, I know four Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda. I know Itihasa and Purana as fifth Veda. Vedic grammar, rites of fathers, mathematics, science of portents, science of treasures, science of time, logic, ethics, politics, etymology, science of Vedas, physical science, science of elementals, science of war, astronomy, science of serpents, and fine arts such as dancing, singing, and music. Then Devarshi continued, O revered sir, I am only a knower of verbal text and not a knower of self or Atman. I have heard that the knower of Atman and have experienced Brahman like you go beyond grief. He wins over the sorrows. The cardinal truth is that there is no peace or happiness outside the knowledge of Atman or Atmagyana. There is no Atma Vidya. Sanat Kumar, after listening to what all Narada knows, exclaimed, Narada, it is true that whatever you know and have studied are only a name. Please meditate upon name as Brahman, as one who meditates on the name as Brahman becomes independent as far as name reaches. He who in name worships the infinite Brahman attains the sphere. Friends, please note that everything is founded on the name. All the knowledge in this world is classified and built up by putting together various ideas and concepts, each having a specific name. Just think how much we ourselves are attached to our own name. It goes beyond to the titles as we get begin to learn more. For example, someone who has mastered medicine is given the title of doctor, and frankly, it really means a lot to him and also to others. However, the limitations of remaining at the level of name is that the degree holder can master the field of his study or profession only and not beyond that. The steps beyond the name have to be reached through the name. Just as during Brahmacharya initiation, the Guru gives the pupil a new name. That name marks the new identity in life and an identity with the Spirit. Even we worship the Lord through his name. So, Narada went back and tried to meditate upon the name as Brahman. However, his questions remained unanswered. He wanted to know more and went to sage and asked, O river sir, is there something greater than name? If the teacher sees that the student is ready to move on to the next step, then only he teaches him the next chapters. Similarly, Sanat Kumara knew that Narada meditated on name as Brahman, and so he was ready to be taught more about the next step. Sanat Kumar said, Yes, certainly. There is something which is greater than the name. Narada quickly asked him, Then tell me, sir, if there is such a thing. Sanat Kumar said, Yes, dear Narada, Vak Bhava Namana Bhuyasi. Speech is greater than name. Because of speech, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda are known to us. Due to this, we know Itihasa, Purana, Vedic grammar, rites of our fathers. Mathematics, science of portent, science of treasure, science of time, logic, ethics, politics, etymology, science of Vedas, physical science, science of elemental, science of war, astronomy, science of serpents, and fine arts such as dancing, singing, and music. Because there is speech, there is name. Speech is the cause, and the name is the effect. Friends, a point to understand here is that you see the phenomenon of cause and effect has been referred again. So, if there is no spoken word or speech, then there would not have been a written word. Just because of the speech, the languages were formed. Even everyone's body language is translated into one's mind as speech. All creatures has their own way of communication. I have spoken about it in my last episode. Speech is one of the most powerful organ of action. Only human beings add values and not any other animals. The animals live by instinct and not by values. Human beings' intellect allows him to live or not live by these values. Speech enables us to distinguish values at all the time. Then Sanatkumar advised Narada, go, meditate speech as Brahman, as he who meditates speech as Brahman can proceed beyond the stage of the names. He is free to act as he wishes. Narada went back and meditated upon speech as Brahman. He spoke well, he used linguistics to his prime. Friends, from the writings of Swami Krishnanda on Chandogya Upanishad, we understand the manifestation of speech. There are various levels of speeches. Paravani, this level of speech is when it is still in its unmanifest or dormant form. For example, all information of our school or our family would be in our mind in an unmanifested form most of the time. Next is Pashyanti. This level of speech is when, as soon as someone mentions the name of our school or family, the picture of it pops up in our mind. We see the school building or our family members in our mind. All associated thoughts start popping up one after another. Next is Madhyama. This level of speech is when we assemble words in our mind to give expression to the thoughts as one wishes to express. When we think about our school or family, our mind is filled with some expressions or words. The next level is Vaikhari, and in this level, the actual words are expressed as speech. Narada, after meditating speech as Brahman, was still full of questions and he wanted to know the next step. He went back to Sanatkumara and asked, "O revered sir, is there anything greater than speech?" Sanatkumara looked at Narada and was happy that his pupil has the hunger to know more. He replied, "Yes, there is something greater than speech." Narada's eyes sparkled in happiness and eagerness to learn. He asked, "What is it? Please teach me." Sanatkumara said, "Mana bhava vacha bhuya." Mind is greater than speech. Both name and speech originate in the mind. Let me simplify this to you, my friends. Mind gives the name for every thought it thinks. That helps it to assemble its intentions internally in words first and then externally using expression of speech. Thus, name and speech are the tools used by the mind to express itself. Then Sanat Kumara continued, using mind, I can learn the mantras, allows me to perform sacrifices, allows me to desire offsprings and cattle, allows me to desire anything such as this world and the next. The mind is where the desire is to do anything arises. Without this impulse in the mind, nothing can be attempted. There would not be any need for speech or names. The other day, I was reading a book named Sapiens, A Brief History of Mankind by Yuval Noah Harari. And in that book, he mentioned that different human species such as Homo sapiens, Homo neanderthalis, Homo denevis coexisted together. The desire to know more made differences in these species. Sapiens were more intelligent than others, and a desire to excel as species. Whatever may be the means, either interbreeding or replacement of species, sapiens excelled over others. The desire to understand fire as a friend and it can be tamed for a greater use. The desire to understand the tools and how we can use them to our maximum ability. Desire to communicate and talk made us only species able to form a language and a mode of communication. So, all these thinking and desires of the mind reside in the mind as it is desire rooted. Every action is prompted by the desire to gain something from this world. These desires may be spiritualistic or materialistic. Learning, activities, pleasure centric desires, desire for wealth, desire to rule this world, all these are domain of the mind. Sanatkumara continued, Manahi Atma, Manahi Loka, Manahi Brahma, Manahi Upasva Iti. That is, mind is indeed the Atman, mind is indeed the world, mind is indeed the Brahman. Hence, meditate mind as Brahman. Friends, mind is a mysterious link between the Atman and the world outside. Whenever it is restless with thoughts, busy formulating the plans to satisfy the desires, then it is linked to the world. And when the thoughts dwindle into blank, peaceful nothingness, then it is linked to the Atman. It is like a pendulum swinging between 100% thoughts to 0% thoughts. Sanatkumar continued, He who meditates mind as Brahman attains the sphere to reach of the mind. He is free to act as he wishes. Knowing this, Narada went back and meditated mind as Brahman. Then again he had questions and doubts. He came back to Sanatkumar and asked, O revered sir, is there anything greater than mind? Sanatkumara knew that his brother come disciple is learning step by step and told him, Yes, dear Narada, there is something greater than mind. Narada asked, Then please enlighten me. Sanatkumara said, Sankalpa bhava manasa bhuyan. Will is surely greater than mind. Friends, Adi Shankaracharya commented that Sankalpa is the ability to discriminate between what is done and what is not. This almost appears to be at par with intellect. However, there is a very fine line between intellect and will or Sankalpa. Both has power to decide upon the course of action. However, will is lower than intellect. That is why it is occurring before the intellect in the sequential knowledge. Will decides purely on the basis of likes and dislikes in the mind. It cannot tell what is wrong and what is right. Someone with strong willpower to destroy another's life may succeed in doing so, but cannot judge if his action was right or wrong. Similarly, someone with strong willpower wants to learn a new language may succeed in doing that. It is driven by the likes and the dislikes. It is the force of wanting. Someone who wants something badly and has strong will for it may achieve that. Sanatkumara continued. Once will is intended in his mind, he forms the speech to communicate it and sends forth the name. In the name, the mantras are formed, and in the mantras, the sacrifices are formed. All these indeed merge in the will. All these are made up of will and abide in the will. Heaven, earth, space, water, fire, all are willed. By the will of these, the rain falls. By the will of rain, the food grows. By the will of food, the prana lives. By the will of prana, mantras thrive. By the will of mantras, sacrifices are performed. By the will of sacrifices, the world thrives on. And by the will of world, all things thrives on. This is the greatest power of will, hence meditate will as Brahman. One who meditates will as Brahman, the world will bow to him. Everything in this world will be accessible to him. He can achieve anything of his desire and will. Narada goes away and performs meditation of will as Brahman. He strengthens his willpower, and after some time he came back with more questions for Sanatkumara. He asked the sage, "O revered sir, is there anything greater than will?" Sanatkumara said, "Yes, there is something greater than will, and that is Chittam or intelligence. Chittam bhava sankalpat bhuyah. We know that when one understands something, then he desires and wills in the mind. Then he speaks about it through speech. Henceforth it becomes a name, and in the name the mantras become one, and in the mantras sacrifices become one. All these merge into intelligence and abide in it." Sanat Kumara continued, "Even if a man who knows a lot but he is without any intelligence will not be known by others, he will not be heard by anyone, he will not exist for others. A real learned man is never without intelligence. A man with lesser knowledge but bestowed with intelligence will be heard and liked by others. People will be keen to hear him. Intelligence is abode of emergence for them all. It is their soul and their support. Hence, worship intelligence as Brahman. The world of intelligence is permanent, well founded, and undistressed. In this situation, he will reach the sphere of intelligence and is free to act as he wishes." Friends, let's analyze this a bit. An intelligent person takes into account of all his past experiences and make a careful assessment of future consequences of his actions before acting on it. With intelligence, he will be able to weigh the pros and cons of a decision before any action he will take. In our normal lives, we often make two columns in a sheet of paper, write down pros and cons in them, and then weigh them to make some decision. This helps us to take an informed decision before plunging into any action. One who takes rash and quick actions without considering different perspectives often fall into trap of bad actions. Such action might be considered and regarded as foolish actions. An intelligent person responds to the situation rather than react to it. This differentiates one from being intelligent and not being intelligent. Narada went back and meditated on intelligence as Brahman. He became more enlightened than before. However, still he was curious. He went back to his guru Sanatkumara and said, "O revered sir, is there anything greater than intelligence?" Sanatkumara smiled and said, "Yes, contemplation is greater than intelligence. Dhyanam bhavachittad bhuya." Friends, at this point I read somewhere about misinterpreting terms such as concentration, contemplation, and meditation. I will try to clear this doubt from what I understood. Concentration is the initial practice of bringing mind to focus on a given idea, picture, or a sound, just like students concentrate on the studies. Contemplation is close to concentration, but it is done best in a meditation posture and quietness. That's why most yogis do. They contemplate on an idea. Meditation is an advanced form when mind is brought to complete stillness and focus on Atman, and that's what most revered sages do. Sanat Kumara continued. The earth, sky, heaven, water, mountains, divine beings, and men all contemplate as it were. Among those men, those who contemplate attain greatness. They share the result of contemplation they obtain. Hence, worship contemplation as Brahman. One who does that goes to the sphere reached by the contemplation. He is free to act as he wishes. Narada went back and practiced to worship with contemplation. However, still he was restless and came back to Sanatkumara and asked if there was anything greater than contemplation. Sanatkumara replied that understanding or knowledge is greater than contemplation, and he must meditate upon knowledge as Brahman. Narada again came back to him asking for more. Then Sanat Kumara explained that strength or balam is greater than knowledge, then food or annam is greater than strength, then water or apa is greater than food, fire or teja is greater than water, space or akasha is greater than fire, memory or smaram is greater than akasha, aspiration or asha is greater than memory, and life force or prana is greater than asha. Friends, one point to understand here the word prana, as it can lead to different meanings. Prana moves prana, which is Brahman, is the life force or vital force. Prana gives prana, which means Brahman gives life to living beings. Prana gives to prana, which means Brahman gives life to individual soul of Jiva. The vital force or Jiva Shakti, the life principles or Jivan, and the individual soul or Jiva are all expressions of Brahman, which is the ultimate truth. Here, Sanat Kumar didn't advise Narada to worship with prana, as prana is one's own self and outside of us which can be worshipped. He covered 14 factors which are divided into four parts, namely individual, dharma, the world, and Ishvara. Prana is ourselves entirely. When one's life has departed, we can do anything with it, cremate it, or bury it. But till the time the blood courses through the veins, we must not utter any harsh word, even once to the same body. Life has to be respected, held precious, and given due honor as it is prana. It is Brahman himself that is the person. In our very life, amongst close people, in our lifetime, we are sometimes harsh to them, such as our parents. But when they are no more, we say kind words about them. This is action of hypocrite. Sanat Kumara said to Narada that prana is indeed alone becomes everything from name to aspirations. He indeed who sees thus, reflects thus, and thus realizes, he becomes an ativadi or realized sage. Ativadi is one who is the knower of truth, one who has realized. Then Sanat Kumara continued, if someone say to you that you are an ativadi, then you must admit it. You must not deny it, as it is a compliment. Then he explained the 8-step procedure to attain permanent happiness. It starts with truth, realization, reflection, faith, steadfastness, activity, happiness, and infinite bliss. To attain the goal of truth, all the qualifications from the last one, that is infinite bliss, backwards to the first one, that is the truth, have to be practiced as sadhana, starting with the keen desire for permanent happiness. First, he spoke about truth. Sanat Kumara said, does an ativadi who speaks with truth about truth? Narada replied, revered sir, if that is so, I would speak with truth about truth. Sanat Kumara said, but first, the truth one must desire to understand. Narad replied, O revered sir, I desire to understand the truth. Then Sanat Kumar started speaking about realization. Only when one is realized, then one can declare the truth. Without realizing, one cannot declare truth. Only the realized can declare truth. One must desire to understand realization. Narada said, O revered sir, I do desire to understand realization. Then Sanatkumar started speaking about mati or reflection. He said, only when one reflects, then one does realize. No one without reflecting cannot realize. Only he who reflects realizes. But one must have desired to understand reflection. Narada said, O revered sir, I do desire to understand reflection. Then Sanat Kumara spoke about Shraddha or faith. He said, one can reflect only when one becomes full of faith. No one without faith can reflect. Only one who has faith reflects. But one must have desired to understand faith. Narada said, O revered sir, I do desire to understand faith. Then Sanat Kumar spoke about Nishtha or steadfastness, Kriti or activity, and Sukham or happiness, and then Bhuma or infinite. He said that only that is infinite is true happiness. There is no happiness in anything finite. One must desire to understand infinite. Lasting happiness or Bhumaiva Sukham exist. In fact, it is our very nature, our very existence. We are solely alone. The yearning for a permanent, lasting happiness can be satisfied through realizing the self or truth of our being. Our real being is infinite Brahman, and so when we realize that directly, not just in theory, then saints assure us that it is nothing but infinite happiness. That is Bhumaiva Sukham. Then Sanat Kumar describes the state of liberation or moksha. He said, that in which one sees nothing else, hears nothing else, and understands nothing else, that is infinite. But that in which one sees something else, hears something else, and understands something else, that is finite. That which is infinite is alone immortal, but that is finite is mortal. To this, Narada asked, in what is that infinite established? Sanat Kumara said, O Narada, in its own greatness, or not even in its own greatness. Then Sanat Kumara describes the Swarat or independence. He said, that alone is below, that is above, that is behind, that is in front, that is to the south or to the north. That infinite alone is all this. I alone am below, I am above, I am behind, I am in front, I am to the south, I am to the north, I am this alone. The Atman alone is below and above, the Atman is behind and in front, the Self is to the north and to the south, the Atman alone is all this. He who sees, reflects, and understands this, he enjoys in self or Atman. He unites with it. He becomes sovereign of all worlds and is free to act as he wishes. However, one who does not know about this becomes slave and live in a perishable world and cannot act freely. Prana, aspiration, memory, space, fire, water, appearance, disappearance, food, strength, understanding, contemplation, intelligence, will, mind, speech, name, hymns, rites, all these spring from the self or Atman. He who sees this does not see death, illness, or sorrow. He who sees these all things obtain all things in all ways. The Brahman goes through the process of differentiation and grouping. They are all emanations from the Brahman. When the food is pure, the mind becomes pure. When the mind is pure, the memory becomes strong. When the memory of the Atman becomes strong, from all the knots of heart, one is realized. Thus, how the river sage Sanatkumara helped Narada to wash off his impurities and show the shore beyond the darkness. And he was known as Skanda. Friends, you must be wondering why in the last sloka Sanatkumara was referred to as Skanda. We all know that Skanda is another name of Lord Kartikeya or Murugan and his son of Lord Shiva. However, Sanatkumara is mind-born son of Lord Brahma. Why did the sages who wrote the part of Chandogya Upanishad refer Sanatkumara as Skanda? I did some research on this and found out that in Brahma Sutra in one of the commentary state that in most cases when a person attains a knowledge of Brahman, they attain moksha as soon as they die. In small number of cases, they take rebirth in order to fulfill some role that is vital to sustaining the universe. In Adi Shankaracharya's commentary to this sutra, he gave some examples of people who were born again for a purpose even after attaining the knowledge of Brahman. The first example which was cited was Maharshi Apantara Tamas, who was born out of the sound Bhu uttered by Lord Mahavishnu. For he was absolutely free from inner darkness and ignorance, he was called Apantara Tamas. The sage who was cognizant of the past, the present, and future divided, systemized the Vedas as ordered by Lord Vishnu. He was reborn on this earth as Krishna Dvaiparana or Vedavyasa at the time when Dwapar Yuga was succeeded by Kali Yuga. Similarly, there is another example of Maharshi Vashishta, who was the mind-born son of Lord Brahma, having parted from his former body due to a curse of Nimi on order of Brahma, was again procreated by Mitra and Varuna. The Smritis also describe that Bhrigu was also reborn at the sacrifice of Varuna. Likewise, Sanatkumar is also consequence of a boon being granted to Lord Shiva and was born again as his son Skanda or Lord Kartikeya. 37th chapter of Mahatmya Khanda of Tripura Rahasya details the story of Sanatkumara incarnating as Kartikeya. The account in it is as follows. Lord Dattatreya narrated the story of Lord Murugan or Kartikeya to Lord Parashurama. After listening to the story, Parashurama asked Dattatreya, O Lord, how was this greatly fortunate Skanda be able to conquer the king of Asuras, could not be defeated even by Shiva, Vishnu, and Indra in the battle? To which Dattatreya replied that Lord Sanatkumara, son of Brahma, was ever peaceful and content with himself. He dwelt on the mountain named Rishva. Once Lord Brahma arrived to meet his son, and Sanatkumara related a dream he had seen of a great battle between Devas and Asuras in which he was slaying Asuras. To this, Lord Brahma replied that in a past life, Sanatkumara had been a Brahman who having heard the account of battle between Devas and Asuras had vowed to defeat all Asuras and return prosperity to Devas, and he held the fire as his witness. But he attained his death before he could fulfill his vow, so instead of getting moksha, he incarnated as his son Sanatkumara. Brahma also said that whatever he had seen in the dream would actually take place. When Sanatkumara asked Brahma how this was possible, Brahma told him that Sanatkumara himself would decide how this would take place and return to Brahmaloka. As Sanatkumara meditated on this statement, Lord Shiva and Devi Parvati passed by his hermitage. Seeing his composed face, Parvati, who had not seen Sanatkumara before as she was newly married, asked Lord Shiva who he was. When Shiva told her about Sanatkumara, she expressed her desire to meet him. When both Mahadeva and Girija reached hermitage, Sanatkumara didn't notice them. After waiting for a long time, Mahadeva decided to test Sanatkumara and flew into a rage. He scolded Sanatkumara, saying that his conduct did not befit him. When Sanatkumara was addressed, he opened his eyes and said, I won't be frightened by your curses, my lord, nor I will be excited by your boons. I have conquered both fear and excitement. Thus, you cannot make me react in any way, either ordinary or extraordinary. When he had replied thus, Mahadeva was very pleased and asked him to seek a boon. Sanatkumara laughed and said, O great Lord Mahadeva, I cannot be agitated by illusions or illusionist. Therefore, I seek this boon that if you have any wish, you may seek it from me. Upon hearing this, Lord Shiva said, Om, and continued, If you shall grant my wish, then become my son. Sanat Kumara smiled and said, I shall become your son, but only yours, because Devi Parvati hasn't asked this boon of me. Parvati immediately argued that since wife was entitled to the half of her husband's fortunes and misfortunes, she was also entitled to being his mother. Sanat Kumara consented and said, when Bhasmasura had sought the boon to turn anyone to ashes and tried it on Shiva, he had disappeared, hearing about which you had become aggrieved and turned to a forest of reeds. I shall incarnate into that body of yours, and hence you will be my mother. So saying, Lord Sanatkumara granted them leave, and he was born as their son in Lake Poigai and in the forest of reeds. Thus he became Lord Murugan or Kartikeya. Friends, that was today's episode. I hope you all liked it. Please do share, like, download, put in some review comments. Also, if you want to discuss something on Upanishads and all these stories, please do write me at argyathings@gmail.com. My Instagram handle is argyathings. Until then,
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
This podcast was created on Hubhopper Studio. Visit www.hubhopperstudio.com. Source content collected from various books on Upanishads, such as Messages of the Upanishads by Swami Ranganathananda, Brihada Aranyaka Upanishad by Swami Madhavananda, 8 Upanishads from Advaita Ashrama, Upanishads.org, Vedas and Upanishads for Children by Rupa Pai, and several other write-ups and thoughts on Upanishads. Background music is sourced from various royalty-free music sources, Apple Loops, Internet Archives with non-commercial 4.0 international license. Om Shanti chants are from YouTube source Gaia Sanskrit. This podcast was conceptualized, scripted, narrated, and audio designed by Arghya Goswami.